You've been searching for your new home and can't find that super special home for you and your family. So you decided to go the new construction route. If I can't find it, I'll build it. But before you do that, you're definitely gonna wanna watch this video. In this video, I'm gonna go over some of the cons and challenges that you may face when trying to buy that new construction home. But after watching, you'll know whether or not buying a new construction home is for you. If you're new to the channel, welcome. My name is Brandon Windom, and I help people buy and sell homes here in Delaware. I've lived in Delaware my entire life, and on this channel, I'll talk about exactly what it's like living here in the first state, Delaware. And if you're thinking about buying or selling here in Delaware, I'll put all my info in the description below. I'd love to have a conversation and see if it made sense for us to potentially work together. So the first thing that you may run into when you're trying to buy a new construction home is the oldest trick in the book, and that's the old bait and switch. And what I mean by that is that when you go to that model house and they tell you, hey, this model starts at X amount of dollars, that ain't what that house you're looking at is gonna cost. I repeat, that is not the cost of that model home. That model home that you're touring is probably gonna have a plethora of upgrades that aren't gonna be included in that standard package. So one of the questions you're definitely gonna wanna ask when talking to that representative or agent that's there is, what comes standard? Now, some builders, depending, will offer some upgrades for free, such as granite countertops, or maybe in their standard package, they include stainless steel appliances, but you're definitely gonna wanna ask and verify what comes standard in the packages when you're looking at building a home. The next one is typically new construction homes are gonna cost you a bit more. They're a bit more pricey. And honestly, it's to be expected for the most part. When you're comparing a brand new build with maybe a resale that's 10, 15 years older, obviously those materials that they bought in 2010 aren't gonna cost nearly as much as they are now here in 2023, because as we know, inflation has not been kind to us these last couple of years. And because of that, to build a new home, the prices have to adjust accordingly. Because you're spending more money in getting a newer home, typically it comes with a small peace of mind that if something does break, it's usually going to be covered under warranty, or it shouldn't break because it's brand new. Now, I'm saying this with a bit of a caveat, because it is a new home. If the builder does what they're supposed to, you shouldn't have to make any repairs. Shouldn't, not that you won't. And this might be a good time to actually mention that even though it is a new construction build, that you may want to go get a third-party home inspection during the build to make sure that no corners are cut or nothing is missed in the process of building that can be addressed before you actually move into it, so you don't have those problems down the line. Another thing you're gonna run into almost every time is gonna be your timeline. When you're buying a new construction home, it's kind of hard to predict when the builder is gonna get it done. I mean, of course, they'll give you a very optimistic timeline, but that doesn't mean that the house is going to be done in exactly 6 or 7 months. It may take anywhere from 9 to 12 months, depending on if there's any delays in materials, permits from the city, or what we're seeing now, or what we saw a lot of before, was there was a ton of labor shortages. There was no one to work and build the homes. So if you're someone who maybe has a lot of moving parts, such as you need to sell your home, or maybe you're relocating from a different state, or you need an accelerated timeline because you're accepting a job or anything like that, timelines are definitely something to be aware of. So one way to mitigate that problem is you might want to buy a spec home, or you could potentially buy a home that's deeper in that construction process. So you may not be able to customize every little thing, or the selections may already be picked, but we know for a fact that that house is in the middle of building, and they can give you a clearer timeline on when it will be completed, so that you don't have a lot more mystery that comes with, breaking ground, pouring foundation, and getting all the materials in. While we're speaking about customization, that's one of the cons that people see with new construction. If you're not aware, or if you've never bought a new construction home or gone to see them, some people are under the assumption that the homes are completely customizable, that you can change every little thing in the home. And unfortunately, with most builders, that's not the case. So there may be some luxury or boutique builders that offer that high level of customization. So typically most builders aren't going to offer a very high level of customization, just because it's not cost effective for them. So if you think you're going to change every little thing in the home and add closets here, blow out walls here, add rooms here, that may not be the case for you. And more times than not, that's not the case. Usually when builders have a floor plan, they'll have a floor plan and then they have a couple different configurations here and there where you may be able to add a room or take away a room or something like that. But for the most part, they're not super customizable. But don't worry, there is going to be plenty of things to pick and customize when you get into that home, because it can be overwhelming just by selecting colors on cabinets and sidings and flooring. Even just those little choices there can get overwhelming for some people, because there is a lot of them. And we're not even talking about the actual floor plan, just colors can get overwhelming for some people. Now, this next thing, it's not so much of a con as to something to just be aware of, and those are incentives. Now, certain builders may offer incentives in the form of maybe free upgrades, closing cost assistance, rate buy downs, plethora of things. Maybe it's just a gift card, who knows? But they'll want you to use their specific lender or maybe a specific closing attorney, because in Delaware we are an attorney closed state. But you have to be very diligent when it comes to all the ins and outs of those specific incentives, because if you decide to pass and use your own lender, there may be fees that they charge you that maybe they weren't going to if you use their in-house lender. And some of those fees may be impact fees, or maybe they won't pay their portion of the transfer tax anymore. And just those two alone can translate to thousands of extra dollars. So why the incentives may not be a con, if you're someone who has a very specific situation or you're going to want to use a unique loan program, that in-house lender may not be equipped to help you with that. And because of that, if you do have to use an outside lender, you could be stuck paying thousands in extra fees. Another con is the HOA. Now, if you're not familiar with this term, HOA stands for Homeowners Association. And chances are, if you're buying in a new construction community, the builder is going to have an HOA. And what the HOA can do is, up to a point, they can tell you what you can and can't do with the property. And sometimes some of the newer HOAs can be very strict. So it's definitely going to be good practice to figure out exactly if there is an HOA, and if there is one, what exactly do they allow. You're going to want to get their bylaws, because those are going to answer the questions such as, can I have a privacy fence? Are pools allowed? Can I have a shed? Can I park my RV in my driveway? And most importantly, how much is the HOA going to cost me? What do they provide? Do they provide landscaping? Are there plans for a big community pool house? These are the questions that you're going to want to ask, especially if you're in an HOA. It's good to keep in mind that the purpose of the HOA and the rules are to maintain property values and keep a certain aesthetic of the neighborhood and keep appearances high. This last one is more of a good practice, not really a con, is that you're going to want to bring a real estate agent whenever you go to these new construction homes. And I know, Brandon, you're just saying that because you're an agent. No, I'm not really. Bringing an agent has absolutely no downside. It doesn't cost you anything, and you have someone to advocate on your behalf. You're not going to get there and come with an agent, the builder's going to say, oh, well, those upgrades I was going to give you, I'm not doing it now because you got an agent. That's not the case. I'm not sure why you wouldn't want someone to represent you in that transaction that has your best interest at heart. And you got to keep in mind that those sales representatives or the agents at those model homes, they work for the builder. Now, they may be super friendly and want to help you, but at the end of the day, they work for the builder and they have the builder's best interest in mind, because that's their job. And typically when you're signing a contract, it's going to be a contract that the builder created. So it's going to be way more advantageous for the builder. So when you go in there without an agent, you're already at a disadvantage. So bringing an agent will kind of level that playing field for you, to where though you'll have someone to advocate on your behalf, you're going to have a relationship with them, and overall they're going to help you navigate that process, because chances are they've been through it before. So if you do have any questions, they're going to be able to take that time and explain everything for you and kind of let you know what's to come. So hopefully you got some insight into some of the challenges that come along with building new construction homes. And if you enjoyed this video and you want to see more content like this, I actually made another video discussing Delaware here.